number one thing holding people back from actually succeeding with their online businesses. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of EpicConversions.com podcast. I am your host, Cam Jennings. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I want to get this one started with a little bit of a story, if you will. So there's this master and there's this student, right, in ancient times, right? And the master says to the student, most courageous lion tamers use two tools to control and tame the fierce companion prowling around the cage: a whip and a stool, or a chair. Which of the two is the most valuable to the tamer? So the student says to the master, surely it's the whip. And the master says to the student, no, the one most important tool is the stool, more specifically, the four legs of the stool. And the student says, that's really weird. Why is that so? Why is the chair or the stool more valuable than the whip? And the master says, a lion can easily overpower and maul and kill a person. However, it's only easy for the lion to do so if it can focus on the singular object of the person. See, guys, the lions and big cats are singular focused. They're really good at focusing on one thing. The lion tamer uses the stool as a method of distraction. The lion, when faced with the legs of the stool, tries to focus on all four legs at once. Confused and unable to focus, it stands there frozen. The lion tamer remains relatively safe behind the stool. Okay? Then the story, it goes on to say, consider this. Life isn't a dress rehearsal. Whether you know it or not, you're already in the circus ring of life, right? Most of the time we sit quietly, maybe confused, gazing at the wooden stool dangled in front of us, silently debating about which leg is the most important, right? And then I think this is kind of neat. It goes on to give a little quote here that says, if you chase two rabbits, both will escape, right? You can't chase two rabbits at the same time. It's impossible, right? And I like this little story, you guys, because, in this scenario, you're the cat, you're the big cat, you're the tiger. And it kind of makes you wonder how many of us out there are lions or tigers, but, just ferocious, just amazing just capable of amazing things, but we're being distracted by our own versions of a four-legged stool. And by the way, guys, this story is interesting because it's based on facts. Back in the day, lion tamers and big cat tamers for circuses, they did use stools and whips. A lot of times they'd also have like a pistol at their side. They'd have a pistol, they'd have a stool, and they'd have a whip. And that is how they tamed the lion. The stool was for distraction, right? And then the whip was for, correction. And then, if things got out of hand, they had the gun, right? But that was how they did it. Now today, of course, they use much more humane ways of doing it, but I thought it was a cool story because it was based in fact. And, when I heard that story, to begin with, when I first learned about, lion tamers and how they did that back in the day, I never really made the connection between me and the tiger or the lion and the stool, right? So it's interesting, but I tell you what, in online business, many people are distracted by things online, right? And they can't move their businesses forward. The bottom line is, what I see in the space, and I've coached a lot of people to success, but what I see in the space is when people are distracted and they're not moving their businesses forward, and in many cases, they don't even know what their business is. They don't even have it templated out. They don't even see the parts to their business. They don't know what they're doing. They're lost. They're so distracted, they're lost. But what I know is if you have a business or if you have a plan for a business, if you have a plan to start making money on the internet, what I found is if you can keep that plan moving forward, you will see success, right? It's just a matter of time. Now, on the back of that, I will say you have to be able to adjust. When things aren't working, you need to be able to kind of adjust the plan. You can't just blindly keep moving forward, right? You need to be able to move forward in a smart way, all right? So it saves some room for adjustment, obviously. But I tell you what, adjusting isn't usually people's biggest problem. I would say that's their second biggest problem. But their biggest problem is just not moving forward because they're lost in distraction. I'll tell you another quick story about this, and then I want to give you 3 ways to overcome distraction, right? Because if you're out there right now and you are finding yourself buying course after course after course and not really getting anywhere, and you're just kind of floundering around at the bottom, not really making any money, you want to listen up. You want to pay attention to this, okay? So I remember back when I was in high school, I was taking computer programming, and this is the early 90s. Okay, I graduated in 1994 from high school, so we're talking about 90 through 94, and I don't know what year it was when this happened. Probably like 92, maybe. But I started taking computer programming in high school. We had a computer lab at my high school, and the computers were those old school ones back then. They were the big hunky computers with the black screens, and we were using DOS, right? DOS. It was black screen, green writing, and I was learning how to program in C++. Right? That was the programming language I was trying to learn how to program in. And I tell you what, the difference between now and then is palpable, right? It's a huge difference. But back then it was, A:// hit enter, type in executable commands, and that's how you got around on a computer, right? It was crazy. And this kind of thing kept the majority of people away from computers. All right. They weren't interested in learning all these weird executable commands on a computer, right? But while I was in high school, something amazing happened. Windows came out, right? And Windows, and pretty quickly, Windows got put on all the computers in our computer lab, right? And, I don't remember what year that was when Windows came out, but I remember it happened when I was in high school, and this changed everything. Now, it was so much easier to do everything on a computer. Now it was just little icons, really not that much different than the Windows you guys know today, honestly. It's changed quite a bit over the years, but the basics of it are the same. There's some icons on your desktop. You can move around with a mouse and click on an icon, and boom. so much easier than putting in like a disk into a disk drive and having to type in executable commands and stuff. It's just a whole different ball game. And when Windows came out, this instantly changed the world because it changed the way people looked at computers. And instantly, computers became more accessible to a lot of people as far as like the perception of computers and mentally them wanting to deal with computers. And a lot of people started really looking at computers and kind of getting into computers at that point. So that was the first thing. Okay. And I think that was the beginning of people being a little bit distracted with computers. But that was nothing compared to the next big thing that I saw happen when it comes to technology. The next big thing that happened when it came to technology was, well, 2 things, right? I remember when I was going to community college, this is probably like 2010, and I saw tablets came out. It was the iPad. It came out, and this is the first time I'd seen it. Actually, no. Let me rewind this. Let me rewind that. I'm gonna rewind this a little bit. A couple years before that, this is the big one. Not forget the iPad. The iPad came out. We'll use that next. All right. But the next one that happened to me was a few years before that. My wife and I were going to the cell phone store, to get new cell phones, right? And now this is before smartphones. This was just normal flip phones, LG cell phones, right? They were good at texting and calling, and that's about it. Maybe you could, yeah, that's about it. You couldn't do that much on them. And we were going to the cell phone store to get some cell phones, and that was the first time I saw a smartphone, and I said, "What is that thing?" The guy said, "That's a smartphone. They call those smartphones, and you can get on the internet with them." I was like, "Wow, that's stupid. Who cares? What's the point of that? That's ridiculous." You had to sign up for an extra data plan when you got one of these smartphones, and in my mind, that was a waste of money. I don't need an extra data plan. That's just more money to spend. It's ridiculous. But that was the first time I was introduced to smartphones. But between then and when I saw pretty much everyone using smartphones wasn't that long. It didn't take very long. I saw them in the store, and then very soon it seemed like almost there's more and more people started using them. You saw them, started to see them everywhere, until we get to now, 2019, where you can't look around without seeing people are like attached to them. They got them in their hands all the time. I drive around, I see people on the sidewalk just like on their phones, tap, 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 tap. I see people at restaurants sitting there with a group of people. Nobody's talking to each other. They're all tap, 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 tapping on their phones, right? So the amount of time that it took for me to first see that cell phone, that smartphone in the store, to now, which is that they've just taken over. It didn't take long. Probably within 5 years, they had just really just started taking over in my mind. So that was insane. And I think that was really the big one. And then we can go fast forward a couple years later when I was going to community college, when I first saw an iPad, right? And I thought, that's the stupidest thing in the world. It's like incredibly expensive, number one, and it's basically just a laptop with less features and no keyboard. What is the point of that? Who would really pay $700 for that dumb thing, right? Well, boy, was I wrong, right? Because we fast forward to today, and like everybody's got a tablet. I mean, if they don't have a tablet, they got a smartphone, which is basically a glorified tablet. Right, a tablet with some extra features, and I was wrong at all accounts. I always betted against the technology, and I always lost. Now, in my defense, I never bet against the technology in high school. I thought that was pretty amazing when Windows came out. It made everything so much easier. But the point is, those are 3 times in history where I saw technology become more accessible to people. And it becomes so much easier to deal with. And I saw people fall more and more in love with technology, probably including myself. I'd include myself in that. But the point is, as technology became more and more accessible to us, as we fell more and more in love with technology, we began to get more and more distracted by technology. And I think, when it comes to our smartphones and our tablets, I think we're kind of drawn to it almost like a moth is drawn to a light or a flame, right? We just get infatuated with it. We'll just stare at it for hours. And, it's so easy to be distracted because it has our attention so much. We just get distracted by it, And the thing about it is, if you're trying to make money on the internet, if you're trying to make money online, you're trying to have a business, or you're trying to have a plan that you're moving forward, like, you can't be distracted. I mean, you've got that mission that you're on, that focus of that plan, right? It has to be, somewhat a little bit of an obsession. I don't want to say it's not an obsession, because it needs to be a little bit of an obsession. And that's the truth. It just needs to be a little bit of an obsession. So this idea of being distracted, it really does keep a lot of people back. It really does. Because, I talk to people every day, and when they say they haven't made any money yet, they've been trying for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years sometimes, 15 years sometimes, haven't made anything be able to happen. And many times their problem comes back to not being able to stay with one thing long enough, getting distracted by something else. I'll tell you something. Let me swing this back around to email marketing for a minute, because many of the people in internet marketing space or the make money online space get distracted by things they find in their email, which that shouldn't come as a surprise to you. I told you a couple episodes ago that if you want to succeed online, you need to learn email and list building. They are the key and the core of sustainable online success. And so many of these people who get distracted, they're getting distracted by things they find in their inbox, right? You know why, don't you? Because any port in a storm, when things start to get hard, or, when things start to get a little confusing, what do? They're in a storm. So what do? They look for a port. And what port do they look for? They look in their inbox, right? And they of course, they fall into the open arms of the next sales page that's going to sell them something else, that's going to get them, they're distracted again. Now they're doing like 7 things at once, right? Now they're not effective with their energy. They're not being efficient with their energy, and they're moving in all these different directions. Nothing's going nowhere, and pretty soon they're back at square one, super frustrated again. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. There's a lot of ways to make money online out there. There's a lot of proven ways to make money online out there, but none of them work if you're trying to chase 2 rabbits, or more than 2 rabbits in many cases, right? You're not going to catch any rabbits, just like the quote I was telling you, right? You have to focus on the one thing. I want to give you 3 ways to overcome distraction that have worked for me, because I'm not preaching to you from some kind of pedestal here. I'm preaching to you from experience, okay? I've actually dealt with these problems myself. I've been distracted plenty of times by stupid things. You wouldn't even believe some of the things I get distracted by sometimes. Stupid video games and books and just different things I get distracted by. So I'm in the same boat with everybody else. I got to fight distraction just like you guys. We all live in this age of information and this age where there's a lack of insight, right? Can you believe it? We live in this time where, we have the world's information at our fingertips. We've never had such access to so much information, but we've never had such small amounts of insight available to us. So it's kind of a weird time right now. I feel like it's a time where we have all the information and none of the wisdom, right? So it's kind of strange. Anyways, I want to give you 3 ways to overcome your distraction a little bit and help you move your business forward. This is the lesson. Now, before I get to this really quick, though, I do want to advise you, go over to epicconversions.com, pick up your free copy of 10 email hacks for profit, right? Now, you can use these 10 email hacks even if you don't have an email list. Right? Now that's amazing, right? And if you want to know how do you do that, what's the point of email hacks, even if I don't have a list, that's why you need to go over to epicconversions.com and grab your free copy, right? It's one of those intriguing things, those curiosity building things you need to know. So get over there and grab your free copy. You're not gonna regret it. You're gonna love it. It's gonna help you make money. Okay. Anyways, I want to give you a lesson here. I want to give you 3 ways to overcome distraction. All right. First, now these are things that I do. Okay. These are things that I do. These aren't just things that I read in some book somewhere. These are things that I do that help me overcome distraction every day. All right. First, I want you to plan your day the night before. That's right. My day starts the night before. It starts before I lay my head down at night to go to sleep. I plan the 3 to 5 things I want to do that is going to move my business forward, and then I go to sleep. So when I wake up in the morning, I know the 3 to 5 things I'm going to be doing already, right? Specific things, not educational things, not learning. I'm talking about doing actionable things, right? Things that will move my business forward. Number 2, all right? I want you to separate productive action from education. Now, there's a time for education and there's a time to move your business forward. You need to schedule time for both of those things, okay? But they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. If you spend an hour a day on your business, that hour needs to be actionable. That needs to be for moving your business forward in some way, shape, or form, whether that's writing a blog post, whether that's setting up a squeeze page, whether that's creating a product, whether that's, buying solo ads, whether that's doing an autoresponder sequence, whatever it is, that hour needs to be productive, right? Not just learning, not just buying stuff and learning things. That can be done at a different time, right? So separate your productive action from your education. Make time for both, all right? And then 3, I want you to time block for your business. What do I mean by that? All I mean is I want you to set aside, I want you to determine how much time you can afford to spend on your business a day. And then I want you to set aside that amount of time somewhere in your day. Okay, you can afford to spend an hour a day on your business. Okay, what hour is it? Is it from 8 to 9 in the morning? All right, set it aside. Now you don't have time for anyone else between 8 and 9 in the morning. That time is just for your business. That's it, right? You must be selfish with that time. Time block and then be selfish with that time, right? That time is for moving your business forward, point blank, right? And I'm not saying you need to be obsessed, but you have to be completely self-focused on your business during that time, point blank. These 3 things I use, and they work very, very well to keep me on track. So I hope they will help you. I hope this has provided some value for you today. And let me tell you something. Get over there to epicconversions.com. Get your free copy of 10 email hacks for profit. You can absolutely use it, even if you don't have a list. You're going to love it, and it's going to help you make money. All right. That's all I got. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, everybody.